So if you're learning an instrument or you've ever just looked at a piece of sheet music and seen, a bunch of dots and
And
lines,
wondered how on earth that turns into an actual song.
exactly, you're trying to decode one of the coolest inventions ever, music notation. It's basically a universal language.
And that's our mission today. We're going to show you how pitch that is, how high or low a sound is, gets organized visually.
We're breaking down the absolute core of it, the staff and the clefs.
Right. Not just what they are, but more importantly, why they work.
Okay, so let's start with the absolute foundation, the map itself.
Musical staff.
It's really just a coordinate system for sound, 5 horizontal lines and 4 spaces in between them. That's it.
And the organization is key. You always count from the bottom up. Line 1 is the bottom line.
So the higher a note is placed on that staff, the higher its pitch will be.
And the lower the note, the lower it sounds. It's that simple.
It's actually not random at all, is it? It sort of mirrors the physics of sound.
It does. Perfectly. Pitch is all about frequency. The speed of sound vibrations.
So you can think of the staff as a kind of graph. High up on the graph means a high energy, fast sound wave.
Exactly. Fast waves create high notes, and the notes near the bottom, those are from slower, low-frequency waves. The staff just gives us a visual for that.
Okay, but here's where I always got stuck at first. Those 9 positions, 5 lines, 4 spaces, that's not nearly enough for all the sounds an instrument can make.
Not even close. Think about a piano.
Right, it has a massive range. So this is why we need the clef.
The clef is the symbol at the very beginning of the staff, and it is the key. It tells you exactly which range of notes those 5 lines represent.
It sets the register.
Precisely. And we're going to focus on the 2 most important ones. First up, the treble clef.
This is the one you see most often, I think.
By far, it's for high-pitched instruments. The flute, the violin, trumpet.
And the right hand on the piano.
Right. And it has another name, which is a huge clue. It's also called the G clef.
Because that big swirly symbol is actually a fancy, old-fashioned letter G.
And its main curl wraps directly around the second line from the bottom.
And wherever that curl lands, that line is always the note G.
That's the anchor point. It locks in the entire high register.
But, okay, if you tried to write music for a cello or a tuba using that clef,
The notes would just fall off the bottom of the page.
you'd have to draw a ton of extra lines. It would be a mess.
A total mess and
Yeah.
impossible to read quickly. So for the lower range, we switch clefs.
To the bass clef.
Right. This is for the lower pitched instruments, the trombone, the bass guitar.
And the left hand on the piano.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like the treble clef, this one has a secret identity too. It's the F clef.
You can spot it by those 2 dots, right?
Those 2 dots sit on either side of the 4th line from the bottom.
And that means that line is always the note F.
It anchors the entire low register, just like G does for the treble.
So we have our 2 ranges set. Now we just need to fill in the actual note names.
And this is probably the easiest part to remember because the musical alphabet is super short.
It's just 7 letters.
A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. That's it.
After G, it just starts over again at A, but in a higher pitch.
That repetition is called an octave. The staff just shows you which of those A's or B's you're supposed to play.
Okay, so let's put that alphabet onto the treble clef. The lines from the bottom up.
The note names are E, G, B, D, F.
And this is where mnemonics, those little memory phrases, are a lifesaver.
The classic one everyone learns is, every good boy does fine.
You hear that in every music class. You just have to memorize it.
And thankfully, the spaces are even easier. From the bottom up, they are F-A-C-E.
It literally spells the word A-C-E. That one's pretty hard to forget.
So if you see a note in a space, you can read it instantly.
Now let's switch gears to the lower register, the bass clef.
The whole system is shifted down, so the names are different. Let's start with the lines again for the bottom.
They are G, B, D, F, A.
So we need a new phrase for that one.
I always learned, good boys do fine. Always.
That's a great one. Great dogs fight about bones is another. Whatever works for you.
The key thing to remember is that the G on this staff sounds much, much lower than the G in the treble clef.
Absolutely. Okay, last set. The spaces in the bass clef.
A, C, E, G.
And the mnemonic for that.
All cows eat grass.
So with those 4 phrases, you've basically named every line and space on both staffs.
But what happens if a note is like super high or super low? So high it's above the top line, or so low it's below the bottom one?
That's a great question. You can't just keep adding permanent lines. The page would get too cluttered.
So you use temporary ones.
Exactly. They're called ledger lines. They're just little short lines that extend the staff's range for a note or 2.
They're like little steps on a ladder.
That's a perfect way to put it. An instrument like a piccolo, which plays really high, will use a lot of ledger lines above the treble staff.
And a double bass would use them below the bass staff for its deep notes.
And that brings us to the big picture, the grand staff.
This is what you see in piano music, right? Where the treble and bass staffs are connected together.
Yep, they're joined by a big brace on the left. It shows you the full range of the instrument at once.
And right in that big empty space between the two staffs lives the most important landmark in all of music.
Middle C.
It sits right in the middle, floating on its own little ledger line.
And here's the key. That note, middle C, is the bridge that connects both systems.
It's one ledger line below the treble staff.
And it's also one ledger line above the bass staff. It's the same exact note.
It's home base. For a pianist, finding middle C is the first thing you do. It connects your right hand's world to your left hand's world.
Okay, so knowing the system is one thing,
Mm.
but making it automatic, that takes practice.
For sure. So let's talk about some practical tips for actually getting good at this.
The first step, and it sounds obvious, but you have to do it every time, check the clef.
Right. Before you read a single note, your brain needs to know if it's in the every good boy does fine world or the all cows eat grass world.
Then focus on how the notes move. Don't just drill random note names.
What do you mean?
Practice seeing the pattern.
Yeah.
If you're on a line, the very next note up or down has to be in a space.
Line, space, line, space.
It always alternates. Seeing that pattern is more important than just naming a B flat. That visual flow helps you read ahead.
And don't be afraid to use the mnemonics. If you get stuck, it's totally fine to quickly think face to find that C.
Absolutely. The goal is accuracy first. Speed comes later.
Here's a tip that really helped me. Say the note names out loud as you play them.
Well, that's a great one.
It creates, a feedback loop between your eyes, your voice, and your hands. It makes it stick.
It really does. The goal is for reading music to become as natural as reading this sentence.
So it all kind of boils down to a few key ideas.
It does. The staff gives you the grid, the clefs set the range for that grid, and the alphabet gives every position a name. Together, they create this incredibly clear language for sound.
And if you want a real head start, here's a final tip. Just focus on mastering two lines. The F line in the bass clef and the G line in the treble clef.
Anchor points.
The anchor points. Everything else just falls into place around them. And think about this. Because of these simple lines, a piece of music written hundreds of years ago in Austria can be played exactly the same way by someone in Japan today. It's like a time machine for sound.
Good luck with your studies.